Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Maybe you can give me a sign somehow.
Yes, perfectly.
Perfect. Yeah, I would like to start my presentation. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation and to give me the opportunity to give a short presentation. Yeah, this conference in Budapest is and was always one of my personal highlights. To be in Budapest, to meet all of you, to meet my colleagues, but also friends meanwhile, partners and customers. But unfortunately, this time I'm in Hamburg. Yeah, what will I tell you? I would like to give you a short overview about the effects on the global and European trade. The buzzword, the new normal, what does it mean for VTG? How do we react on let's say, the pandemic situation, as well as how will the, let's say, the industry react, and then the conclusion. I found this chart, and I think it's quite, for me, it was quite interesting, because 12 months ago, I had no clue about COVID. First of all. Secondly, we were moving into the first information about COVID end of December, when nobody, at least in my environment, was really interested. Then it came closer in France in February, the first death, and then wow, all the bells started to ring in Europe on this topic. One, for me, impressive figure, which I just Googled this morning regarding the cases. We have currently 68 million cases, 47 million, thanks God, recovered, and unfortunately 1.6 million death with COVID or death, let's say, on COVID. The next two slides are dealing mainly with the development of the global trade, but also on the European trade, and you will see some similarities. The global trade collapsed by 15% during February and April, and it recovered quite fast, up to, let's say, 90% of the basis of February by already in June. This is the V shape, which we will also see for the European trade. What are the biggest differences between the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy and the COVID? Well, the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy was a worldwide financial and economic crisis. I think many companies experienced that the loans were not approved by the banks because they were themselves under bankruptcy, some of them. The demand of the consumers shrunk, and the order books of the, let's say, producing companies were empty, or at least shrunk to a minimum level. COVID is mainly, for the time being, affecting, let's say, production. We saw in the March, April, May closing down of production facilities due to the lockdown measurements of the governments. We also saw some inefficiency in supply chains, especially coming from Asia, because we had the gap of 2-3 months when let's say, missing spare parts arrived here in Europe. And this was and is still the biggest, for the time being, difference between the Lehman Brothers and the COVID situation. We can also see that during or after the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy, it took the economy 13 months to reach the level which was reached during the Corona already in June. So this is quite impressive. Therefore, the U-shape and V-shape recovery of the industry. Eurozone, the same. In the Eurozone, the trade between the countries was even falling or fell even more dramatically by 23%, so 7% point more than the global trade. And June, the recovery was even faster than on a global base. So we had a 90% in June, like worldwide, but from a deeper point. This V-shape, of course, will help us to recover. We saw it also during the summer, not so strong, but the autumn, the V-shape is continuing. We learned also from, let's say, other industries, air freight, record month, November. We see it also on rail that November, October, September were quite strong months. Yeah, some of the smart guys, they expected a recession in 2020. Well, not hard to predict such a, let's say, comment. What does it mean, this recession? What does it mean for the industries? There were some, let's say, assessments, and the results out of these assessments look like that if in the best case the industry will recover between 1 year and the worst case in 5 years to reach the pre-COVID GDP level. In our industry, you see the gray shadow here. If, let's say, we continue in with the same speed, with not so many lockdowns, yeah, we're expecting, not only we, but I think the institutions are expecting to return in 21, 22 to the level of 19. In case we are not able to manage the situation, if we get a third or fourth lockdown, then it might be that, let's say, the recovery will only take place in 2025. This chart, I like it very much because it's again showing the V shape. And in June 2020, the World Bank was, let's say, expecting a growth in China with 1%, okay, 5% points less than in 2019, but still a growth. A decline in worldwide by 5% of based on GDP. In US -6 and in Europe -9. This was in June. How does it look now in December? In December, we see that the OECD is forecasting a decline in Europe by 7.5% and the growth in China of +1.8. So this is quite interesting indicator. And if we see the developments in 21 and 22, then we see that some countries will recover, will need up to 2 years. Let's say if we see here Germany, if we see Europe, we will also need 2 years in order to achieve the 2019 GDP, if nothing unforeseen will happen. Yeah, next I would like to touch the buzzword, the new normal. What does this mean in particular for VTG? We started after, let's say, the first information about this virus in February already to react. We implemented a kind of risk team to assess the risk and along the, let's say, value chain, both for employees, for suppliers, customers, and financials, of course. We defined the respective measurements out of that. And we started with the execution exactly on 15th of March, before the first, I would say, European-wide lockdown. What did we do? We moved all the employees into the home office, and the employees which were not able to move in the home office, the blue-collar workers in the workshop, or lock drivers, or let's say wagon masters, or other people who are, let's say, more in, on fresh air. We were working on a very specific hygiene measurement process in order to protect them against the COVID. After we implemented, let's say, the move of our employees, we moved into the second phase, the resilience phase, where we were very closely monitoring our operational and financial resilience to see, are we able to work from home? Can we, let's say, communicate? Yeah, this was everything fine. IT worked, digitization. We were happy that we were so far to really push the button and move with our employees to the home office. What we did then, and what we are still doing, is the active supplier management. So really having a very close interaction with the suppliers, but also with the customers, in order to see where are their pain points, where we can help, or where we need, let's say, other solutions than maybe rail, or where we can put more volumes from any other, let's say, transport mode to rail. This we saw in China, due to the fact that containers and air freight, we heard about it, was lacking capacity. We see every day an increase of the Silk Road container transports, which will definitely reach a quite record year today, or this year. Then we were already in the return phase in January, in July, bringing back the employees. Only, let's say, we had for each country, for each office, we had our own hygienic plan. And the plan was not to bring back more than 50% of the employees working in shifts and so on. Visit customers, personal meetings, which was quite nice to have it. And then beginning of November, here in Germany, but also in the rest of Europe, we moved back into the second phase of the lockdown, where we are now again in the resilience phase. And here we are now focusing very closely to keep the employees motivated, because we know that most of them, they will not see the let's say, family during Christmas. They will not have any New Year's Eve with their friends, and we are very closely looking into the risk groups. That means employees who are clustered in this group, in order to actively protect them. Yeah, what will come next? The new normal. I think we are already in the middle of the agile working methods, like we're doing it today. So it's proven that it works. more digital core processes. So we were working already for a couple of years on that, and we are happy that we are so far, and it's not the end. Portfolio optimization, this is more market driven. We will see that, let's say, the environment of market players will change a little bit in future. And at least we are working on new products and services. How do we react on the whole pandemic situation? Believe it or not, we were quite successful to cover the financials, the cash flow. So we were quite successful to refinance amount of 2.9 billion euros in April, which of course was already planned to take place in March, but due to the pandemic situation, the banks were not able to work faster. But nevertheless, we closed the contract end of April. This gives us a quite good, let's say, backbone and security. We increased our geographical coverage. We see here, I mean, our core markets, of course, our core market is Europe, but we are also represented in Russia, North America, as well as in Asia. But in Europe, we still have or had some white spots on the map, which we are working or have been working to close it. The same for, let's say, moving into new industries to offer the customers different services. We were investing in new technologies, in new wagons, but also in new employees, as well as we took over in the middle of the crisis a railway undertaking in Slovakia with branches in Hungary and in Czech Republic. At the same time, we also took over a workshop in Slovakia. So we were quite excited how this will work out. And I have to say this was absolutely the right decision, especially when we are now increasing the capacities or the volumes in autumn. This we benefited a lot from this strategical move. Yeah, and we brought also new builds in the market. We still have a new build program where we bring the latest generation of rail cars into the market. Out of all these, let's say, exciting happenings, we are packaging our solutions a little bit different than in the past. We have basically, if you can see here, three categories. We have the more wagon-oriented business, we have the more forwarding-oriented business, and we have the railway undertaking-oriented business. And our target is to service, or let's say, offer the customers tailored services from all this field, regardless if you only want to have, let's say, a wagon, the customer will get it. If he wants a complete solution, a forwarding solution, he will get it. If he wants to use our own railway undertaking, he will get it. In addition to, of course, digitized products, which we are offering on our Trigo platform. So, yeah, I think now it's time to conclude. I have three main headlines: trade, the new normal, and state aids. We saw and we see that the trade in goods recovers quite fast compared to the crisis 2008-2009. We believe that this will also continue in 2021. Okay. Hello? So I'm back now. Sorry. The current lockdown, which we have, is thanks God not production driven. So that means the production facilities are working. That means the supply chains are working. We have something to transport. This is the good news. Bad news, of course, is we don't know how long this will take, and if there will be a second or let's say a third lockdown. The new normal, yeah, we are in the middle of the new normal. This, of course, brings uncertainties not only for the companies but also for the employees. And we saw that entire business models have lost importance, like travel, airline, like tourism. Then the forced social distance has given the digital transformation an enormous boost. Yeah, we see it today. Without Zoom, we would not have this conference. State aids. This is something which makes me personally a little bit nervous, to be honest. Because why? Because of the unbalanced economic aid for state-owned companies, but not only for state-owned companies, also for private companies, whereas they take a participation in the companies. This might lead in some sectors to a strong market distortion, which we will see as a privately owned company where this will lead. We see that many railways, they get quite a nice amount of money. Alone in Germany, so where I'm very close to, let's say, to the market, 5 billion euros for Deutsche Bahn, which is quite an interesting amount. I don't know if this is really needed. Deutsche Bahn, at least in cargo, has a market share of a little bit more than 50%. The rest is getting zero. I think the rest of the industry is also struggling a little bit. And but I believe that the state aids are, of course, necessary. At least in Germany, we will see a quite high debt, which is 1/3 of the budget of 2021, which will amount to 180 billion euros. Additional spending in terms of state aid. Last statement. We have been proven that the rail-based supply chains have proven to be stable, robust, and reliable, even when the borders in euros were closed. And I hope this will never happen again. Thank you very much.